Because our own Director of News, Gavin Morris, is on the warrant, he couldn't be present. So I asked our lawyers whether I could sit in on the room. I thought it would be good to have a journalist in the room. Otherwise, it's AFP officers and lawyers. Our lawyers said yes, and then when I was in there, I began live tweeting. I thought it was important for people to know this is not a confidential thing. They've come into our building. And then at one point, about an hour into it, the head of the AFP team looked at me and said, so you're tweeting? I said, yes, I am. And he said, why are you doing that? And I said, because I think the staff and the public should know what's going on here. I said I wouldn't tweet out any confidential material, any operational matters, or the names of any possible sources, which of course I wouldn't do as a journalist. And so he said, fine. So I've been in there several hours now. So right at the moment, up on level 11 of this building, I've just left it to do this interview. There are 6 AFP officers and about 4 ABC lawyers. They have downloaded 9,214 documents. I counted them. And they are now going through them. They've set up a huge screen and they're going through email by email. It's quite extraordinary. And I feel, as a journalist, it's a real violation because these are emails between this particular journalist and his boss, her boss. It's drafts, it's scripts of stories. I've never seen an assault on the media as savage as this one we're seeing today at the ABC. Because, of course, in journalism, in television, people do a script. Anyone at home can do a draft, and you add in a note saying, must check this with Joe Smith, must check that, ring this number. They're trying to access all of those. The Australian Federal Police have come into the ABC and have the power now to be going through those 9,214 documents and essentially deleting anything they want. They can just decide that email or that particular correspondence has never existed. They can change material. They now have the power to go into an email and change what anybody wrote, what a manager of the ABC wrote to the Defence Department's media unit. And I wonder whether our political leaders, I wonder whether Scott Morrison and Peter Dutton realise this. Because, Patricia, I've sat there for many, many hours now watching this. This would not be allowed to happen in the United States under their constitution. My question is, why is it allowed to happen in Australia in 2019? Look at the last 24 hours in Australia. Annika Smethurst, a very honest, good journalist at News Corp for Sunday Telegraph, wrote a genuine, legitimate story saying that she had been told that the intelligence services wanted to increase their powers. What have they done? The intelligence and police services have raided her home, spent 7 hours going through her kitchen, her bedroom, everything in her house. I think it's a violation of her and her journalism. The reaction from News Corp's been very strong. I presume it'll be just as strong in defence of the ABC. And then yesterday they put pressure, Home Affairs Department, Peter Dutton's department, put pressure on Ben Fordham, a radio personality here in Sydney at 2GB, pressured him to reveal a source. In the same 24-hour period, they raid the ABC's offices. This is, in my view, this is a really serious escalation of the attack on the free media. And that hits the public. It's not just about the media. It's about any person out there who wants to tell the media about a bad hospital or a school that's not working or a corrupt local council. The message from the AFP, in my view, to all of these people is watch out, because we'll be able to find out who you are and we'll come after you. We're getting tip-offs, documents all the time. I mean, that's what happens. That's our business. Much of the material we get doesn't pass muster. We go through it. It might be a fake document, or it's driven by complete malice and doesn't stand up, or it only tells one side of the story. The journalists involved, Dan Oakes in the Melbourne office of the ABC and Sam Clark, very, very thorough, serious journalists. What we do at the ABC is that before a story like this gets anywhere near broadcast or publication, we have a whole legal team. who will sit in and go through the script line by line. We will have, often outside legal counsel. We will have producers, researchers, reporters. Then there's a team of managers. We go through all of this extremely thoroughly. We published that story 2 years ago in good faith. Now, what I want to know is why suddenly, like with the Annika Smethurst case, why suddenly are we all being hit by this sort of thing? The next stage of the process will be that the AFP will say we want those 3,000 documents. The option for the ABC at that point is to say no, that we will not give you any documents. We're contesting and we're fighting that. So that decision hasn't yet been made. I've never seen a warrant, and I've been subject to warrants myself as a journalist by the AFP, stories I've done. I've never seen a warrant this comprehensive and this, I'd say, scary, for the Australian Federal Police to have the power to not just take and seize, but to delete and to change official ABC documents. And the chilling message is not so much for the journalists, but it's also for the public. I mean, that's a really important factor in this, is that the average person sitting out there, I mean, in some countries, whistleblowers are treated well and reverentially because they help keep the system honest. This message to the whistleblowers or people around the country who see corruption happening at a local council or in the hospital around the corner, what the message is, be careful, because we can hit with the full force of the law. The main target of this, by the way, is not the journalists involved, it's whoever gave them the material. From sitting in that room for several hours, it's clear to me that the main target is the source of the information or the sources of the information, and I've been careful not to tweet any names related to that.